my carbon solution, as you know,
Yeah.
is not just about, and you make this point very powerfully in your book, that even if we were to stop emitting today, we've signed up for a future that
Yeah.
may not be consistent with human civilization. And so we need to do something about that. So in the book, I'm very interested in carbon sequestration and how you do it. It's something that's just glimmering as a possibility right now. It's expensive, but it may become less so. But it's not prohibitive, and and given that we have a defense budget that is so crazy, there's become $100 billion more a year is being spent by President Trump than President Obama. What's it buying? No one can say. And mostly we're preparing for a naval war with China, which we are never going to fight. So that extra 100 billion, just think of this as an insurance policy. That's not the wisest way to spend 100 billion extra dollars. That's not the budget. It's the increase in the budget. If that could buy you a lot of carbon sequestration.
Well, not that much, but yeah, it could buy you some. Your attitude, by the way, about the defense budget is also very refreshing. I remember when I was in Cambridge, I doing my PhD. There was a book came out, The Price of Defense, by Philip Morrison and a number of the standard people, and arguing that, of course, defense spending costs, and you have to think rationally rather than just arguing that we're a stronger nation by spending on it. But in fact, climate change as a threat is and the military understands this and understood it more quickly than many of the civilian aspects of even those administrations that appeared to ignore it. The military already had study groups looking at climate change because they realized that climate change is a threat specifically because of the sociopolitical implications of between 100 over this century, between 100 and 600 million climate refugees. That if you look at what happened in Syria and its impact on the world, that's small potatoes compared to the threat of climate refugees, which is one reason why we should think of it's not inappropriate to take defense money, bloated defense money that is useless, out of the defense budget. It's actually appropriate because climate change is a defensive issue.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
And I do. And I think this pandemic should drive home to everybody this truth, which is for 4 years, President Trump spent an enormous amount of money preparing for a naval war with China. And we now have a threat from China that's had really shattering costs on people all over the world. And President Trump wants to have an argument about whether China is to blame. That's not an interesting question. The question is, okay, you spent all this money to defend the country against China. Why did you buy warships when that was not the threat?
I think I had a colleague of mine, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist when I was at Harvard, who I was talking about the government spending on different things, and he said, I think that they still are spending money on mules from the Civil War. There is this inertia in military spending that often is unrelated to actual threats. It's just like any government institution, and here you're much more expert than I am, I'm sure. But anytime there's a lot of money to be spent, there's a lot of effort to spend that money, right?
Yeah. Well, and claimants grow up around it. So, you build tanks, that creates a tank factory, that creates shops and interest groups around the tank factory. That creates a member of Congress who is beholden to all the various interests that depend on the tank factory. And now you tell that place that maybe tanks are no longer useful. And they say, okay, fine. What are we going to build instead? So, well, actually, nothing. We're taking all this money away from you, and we're not going to build any kind of rolling cannon firing piece of hardware. What we're going to do instead is sequester carbon. Well, they're going to think that's worse than communism.
Well, that's if you say it that way. And I have issue. We'll talk about sequestering carbon, but I think that the problem is if you say it that way, of course. But in fact, there's again, this takes me years back when I was opposing the missile defense and the waste that missile defense is. You can say it creates jobs to spend money on military technology, but in fact, it creates fewer jobs, a certain set of high-tech jobs. But if you present sequestering carbon as a major potential technology development program that may, in the end, employ many, many more people, then I don't think people are going to object so much. If you say
no, but now you're overlooking the thing. What we're saying is we're going to member of Congress from the tank fact making district. We're going to put everybody in your district out of work. But good news, we're going to create twice as many jobs in this district.
No, of course, but no, you have to pretend you have to lie.
He says, no, I'd rather have fewer jobs in my district than more jobs in somebody else's district.
I've been through that with the superconducting super collider in the United States, where I watched it die because different districts were complaining about what they were or weren't getting, and you tried to make sure it was being built in 50 states so you could get appropriate number of senators to support it. No, I think you have to say that in your district. I mean, it's like saying, well, it's what you probably have to say to people in coal mining districts, that what we'll try and do is repurpose those, and we'll create new technologies in your areas to try and retrain people to do a different kind of thing that may be better for your productivity and economic competitiveness in the 21st century, and at the same time better for the world. Maybe that sounds naive too?
No, that's what we try to do. And then we have to reckon with something we talked about at the very beginning, which is the American congressional system of government makes it more difficult for the United States to do things like that than it is for comparably organized countries with different systems of government. And now with coal mining, because it is a private sector industry, in the end, the government cannot save coal.
Yeah, it's going to die no matter what.
It's going to die no matter what, and we've already seen that. And coal mining as a profession or an occupation has died a lot longer before the coal mining industry did. And
very few people employed, by the way. That's the other thing that's so ridiculous. You could get rid of all the coal mines, and it would be a blip in unemployment.
I think I use this number in Trumpocalypse, that if you total everyone in the coal industry, not just the miners, but the bookkeepers, marketing, lawyers, everyone employed by every coal mining company, you get fewer people than teach yoga for a living. No, not teach yoga, than are licensed to teach yoga for a living in the United States.
Perfect. That's not from the book that I know of, but maybe it was Chumpocracy, but it's a great comparison. And so that's what's interesting, that's become a big issue, because of course, as you say, the first day of social isolation, many more people went out of work than, well, maybe in the first hour of social isolation, many more people went out of work than if you closed all the coal mines.